Hi, grade 10. So today we are doing the sum and the difference of two cubes. I will be doing 6 questions with you. So as you can see, the questions will range from very easy to a little more complicated as the video goes on. So let's start. Let's get into it. The first question is x cubed plus 1. And of course, you have to factorize it. So that is normally the question. You have to factorize the following. How do we know something is the sum or the difference of two cubes? When you have two terms, you must check for the following. Is the power a multiple of 3? So is it 3, 6, 9, 12, and so forth? That's one tip. The other tip is this number or any number in the sum should be a perfect cubed. Now, a perfect cubed is 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 3 times 3 times 3, that's a perfect cubed. 4 times 4 times 4, that's a perfect cubed, and so forth. Okay, so let's look at our sum again. Do you see that this is a multiple of 3 and this is a perfect cube? That means it's either the sum or the difference of two cubes. So this is how you factorize grade 10s. You have a small bracket and you have like a longer bracket like that. Okay, let me rub this out. So now, the first thing I deal with is the signs in the brackets. So if this is a plus, grade 10s, this is a plus. And this is always a plus. This sign here is a minus because this is always the opposite of that. Okay, now let's get into the numbers. So for your first term, you're going to take the cube root of that, So you say the inside power, which is this, over the outside power. 3 over 3 is 1. So I took the cube root of x cubed. Then I do the same for 1. What is the cube root of 1? It's 1. Now the more you do it, the quicker you become. To get that term, I'm going to take this over this. So I'm going to take this over this. And do you remember in grade 9? When you divide, you minus the powers. So x to the 3 over x to the 1 is x squared. This term is x squared. Now I'm going to do the same for the 1. I'm going to say this over this will give me that. So 1 over 1 is 1. So that means this is 1. And then to get this middle term here, I'm going to say this times this. So x times 1 is x. And there you factorize this. Let's look at number 2. This is also the sum or the difference of two cubes because this is a multiple of 3 and this is a perfect cube. I told you it's a small bracket and a big bracket. There's no highest common factor to take out. If this is a minus, this is a minus. This is always a plus. This is a plus because this must be the opposite of that. Okay, now in the first bracket, you're going to have 2 terms. In the second bracket, you're going to have 1, 2, 3 terms. To get the first term in the first bracket, we are going to say, what is the cube root of y to the 3? So y to the 3 is 3 over 3, which is just y to the 1, which is y. So you must become faster now, This is then y. Now we do the same for 8. What is the cube root of 8? The cube root of 8 is 2. So this is a 2. So are you fine with to get this term? I'm going to say this over this. And to get the last term, I'm going to say this over this. So, okay, let's go. So I told you to get this first one, it's this over this. And that is y to the 2. So this is y to the 2. And then for this last term, it's the 8 over 2, which is 4. And then to get the middle term, it's this times this. So 2 times y or y times 2 is 2y. And that's your answer. As easy as that. Let's look at number 3. This is a multiple of 3. And 27, although it's here, is a perfect cubed. Okay, let's go. So a small bracket, a big bracket. Now I'm first going to deal with 27. The cube root of 27 is 3. So I'm going to have a 3 here. The cube root of a cubed is simply a. So I'm going to have an A there. The cube root of B cubed is B. So I'm going to have a B there. If this is a plus, this is a plus. This is always a plus. This is a minus because this is the opposite of that. Now we're going to find this term, this one, and that one. For the first term, I'm going to say question over first bracket. For the last term, I'm going to say question over this. 27 over 3 is 9. A to the 3 over A is A squared. So this becomes 9A squared. Then let's do the same. B to the 3 over B is B squared. So this is B squared. And to get the middle term, this times this. 3A times B. 3A times B is 3AB. So this is 3AB. Just like that. There you factorized it. Well done. Let's look at number 4, grade 10s. Is it the difference of two cubes or sum of two cubes? Let's look at the powers. 9 is a multiple of 3. Do you remember I said 3, 6, 9, 12? So yes, there's 9. And then 3 is a multiple of 3. There's 3. So let's start. Because it's the sum of two cubes, a small bracket, a big bracket like that. Then for the first term, do you remember we take the cube root of this and the cube root of that for our first bracket? So the cube root of this and the cube root of this. Inside over outside. Inside over outside. 9 over 3 is 3. So this is x to the 3. Then the cube root of y cubed, inside over outside. This is inside, that's outside. This is 1. So that is just y. If this is a plus, this is a plus. Always a plus. Now this is a minus. We are looking for this term, and that term. So for this term, I say this over this. So I say this over this. When you divide, you minus the powers. So this is 6. X to the 6. And then for the last term, it's this over this. So it's this over this. This is y squared. So this is y squared. And for the middle term, it's this times this. So it's this times this. It gives me that. So the middle term is that. Number 5 is special because look, there's a negative in front. So first of all, there's a negative. And second of all, there's a highest common factor. So we first have to take out that. So step number 1 is to take out the negative and the highest common factor. The negative is out. What goes into 2 and also into 54? 2. So 2 goes into both of those numbers, eh? Then let's look at the x's. Here's an x and there's an x. I always take out the x with the lowest power, so just x. Then there's a y and there's a y. I take out the y with the lowest power, so it's y. Okay, now I'm going to open my brackets. First, I'm taking out the highest common factor. How do you factorize now? We are going to say this over this. I'm going to do the calculations on the side. Then we're going to say this over the same thing over this. So I'm going to say this over this. So let's see. Over this. Okay, there's a negative. So a negative over a negative is a positive. So that cancels. 2 and 2 will cancel. X to the 4 and x to the 1 gives me x to the 3. And this y and y will cancel. So inside, I have x to the 3. Okay? Now, I'm going to take 54xy to the 4. So I take now this over this. So let's do that. That over this. A positive over a negative is a negative. 54 over 2 is 27. X and x will cancel. Y to the 4 over y is y to the 3. So this is minus 27 y to the 3. That's how we got these terms inside. Step number 2. I keep this in front, but now I notice this is the difference of two cubes. Okay, how do I know that? Because this is a multiple of 3 and 27 is a perfect cubed. So the bracket, so this whole bracket will now become two brackets, a small one and a big one. The cube root of this is x. The cube root of that is 3. The cube root of that is y. If this is a minus, this is a minus. This is always a plus, and that is now a plus because this must be the opposite of that. We're going to say this over this gives me that. And then we're going to say this over this gives me that. So let's go. X to the 3 over x gives me this, x squared. 27y to the 3 over 3y. Can you see I'm ignoring the signs? This is 9y squared. Okay, and then this middle term over here is this times this. So x times 3y is 3xy. And then you factorized it. Well done. Let's look at number 6. This one I'm going to do a little bit faster because I think by now you know the steps. Let's quickly check if this is the sum or difference of two cubes. This is a multiple of 3. Yes, one is a perfect cube. This is a perfect cube. This is a perfect cube. And that. Okay? It's the sum of two cubes. Which means when I factorize a small bracket, a big bracket. Okay, the cube root of 1 is 1 over. The cube root of 64 is 4. The cube root of p cubed is p. The cube root of 8 is 2. Cube root of 27 is 3. This is always a plus, and if this is a plus, this is a minus. Okay? Now, let's see how are we going to get the other terms. So do you remember I said to get the first term, it's this divided by this. So I'm going to do it here. It's this. You do it on the side. You don't get marks for this, eh? Let's go. 1 over 64 divided by 1 over 4. You can do it on your calculator. That will give you 1 over 16. P to the 3 over P is P squared. So this will go in the first bracket, the first term. And then for the last term, let's use another color. It's this over this. So it's this over this. You do it on your calculator and you will get 4 over 9. And then for the middle term, it's this times this. So it's a quarter P times 2 over 3. So a quarter times 2 over 3 gives me 1 over 6. And I keep the P. So this is 1 over 6 P. And that's how you factorize that. I hope it helps.